Tell us a little bit about Coppin State and what do you guys expect from them?
Well, Coppin, they're a very fast-paced, aggressive basketball team. They're averaging, things that pop out, they're averaging 27 attempted three-pointers per game. They're turning teams over 21 times a game, around 11, 12 steals per game. Aggressive offensive rebounding team at 14 a game, which is, in comparison, North Carolina averaged 18 offensive rebounds per game, which was a point of emphasis for us to try to defend that. They've got two guys that are leading them that are carrying them in scoring. One kid, Cole, who's been two-time MEAC freshman of the week already, averaging about 15 points per game. They have a senior transfer in Troy Franklin, who's averaging right around 12, 13 a game, who's pretty aggressive. Both those guys actually boost up those steals per game. They're both right around 3 per game apiece. So, we expect them to come in and pressure us and be in attack mode and also obviously look to shoot the three ball.
I know they don't shoot at a real high percentage. Is that mostly them forcing shots, just missing open jumpers, or where does that kind of come down?
Well, they're getting a lot of open shots. I think in some of their games they've been down, so maybe they pressed a tad bit. And it's a new team, a lot of turnover from last year's roster. So I think they're just in the process of trying to gel. It's more of a concern, you identify their philosophy that they're trying to accomplish, and it's not that they're bad shooters, they've been missing shots. So, you don't want to give them the opportunity to have that many open shots.
What do they do to turn teams over so much, basically? Is it just ball pressure, or do they come at you with a lot of press?
It's a variety of things. They start with ball pressure. They're not always in a full court, man-to-man type of look, but they do a good job of scrambling and helping. They're in the passing lanes, they're aggressive, they're overplaying, so they're forcing you into, unforced turnovers at times. But other times, they're just always going to be there. You're not going to have any space to operate. They're going to be constantly moving their feet and communicating. And they're playing 10, 11 guys as well, so they're able to stay fresh.
Kenny, on your fast break, I know Coach Crean talked about having a stopwatch on guys and wanting them to get up the court. How fast would you, in an ideal world, would you like them to get up from the time they either rebound or inbound the ball? How fast do they need to get up the court?
I don't know that we've ever quantified the exact amount of time. It's as fast as possible with also, obviously pushing tempo, but being selective.
Right.
Just quality possessions. That's always going to be a goal of ours, but the tempo being pushed is something that, we try to constantly set the tempo in practice, which leads to us setting the tempo in the games for the sake of wearing teams down, but also, hopefully, so we have the best rim runner in the country, one, and then we have athletic wings who are able to get down the court, and anytime we can space the floor, then you have got, allows our shooters and our penetrators to get in the gaps, which, helps to get a lot of early offensive scores. So I wouldn't necessarily say there's a particular time. I know some teams in the past have had, we want to score in the first 5 seconds, we want to score in the first 7 seconds. That's never something that we discuss.
You're talking about Cody running the floor. What sets him apart with that? Is it pure effort? Just the hustle to get back? Is it just a recognition of when to go sooner? What is it with him?
To my time being around Cody, I realized that I don't know if he gets the credit per se for the competitor that he is. He's just an absolute competitor. He wants to win at everything that he does. He competes to try to win sprints in practice. In the game, I really believe he wants to. It's a thought of dominating. He's trying to wear the other team out as far as the type of pressure that he's putting on them. He takes pride in the fact that he runs, how hard he runs the floor. So he's getting up ahead, because that's what's going to help us win. Whether we throw it ahead to him or not, he's still going to run that rim every game. He hasn't necessarily gotten the ball in those situations like he did against Carolina in previous games this season at the rate that he got it. But if you go back and look at it, he's still running the lane, that hard. So I think it's just his competitive nature.
As a competitor, do you think that had an impact on the way he played? North Carolina with a pretty highly touted big man in McAdoo, just the way that Cody was able to come out and look pretty good against UNC.
Yeah, I mean, I know there was definitely a great atmosphere. I think that he may, I would attribute a little bit more, he's gotten his lungs back now. He had his brief illness, which he didn't really discuss too much. But, obviously you have an opportunity to elevate your level of play. That's what the best players do in certain situations.
This team has shown almost a ruthlessness, and when you get up on someone, you bury them. Is that hard to coach? Does it come naturally for them, just that ability to not let off when you jump ahead of somebody?
Honestly, it's been an approach of ours that we play it possession by possession. It's a matter of trying to figure out how to maximize your possessions in a basketball game. How you play that possession. When we break down film, we notice we don't look at the game as a whole. We look at it, through the possession, whether it be the defensive possession or offensive possession. So in the course of the game, we've been able to stay focused on that, just figuring out how to make the most out of each possession. I mean, that goes even in the Georgetown game or the Georgia game. It's obviously you take a look at time and score situations, but through the course of the game, it's about each individual possession and how each individual piece that's on the floor is performing, in that given possession. So when you do that, it's about stringing stops together defensively, first and foremost. I mean, we chart how many opportunities we have to get 3 stops in a row. So with that, as you can imagine, it just starts to add up. Okay, you're constantly working on each defensive possession, and then once you get that basketball, now it's about executing on offense.
How does just the rhythm of things change for you guys? I mean, you go from playing, I think, like 4 and 8 days, basically, so I think you have 3 and maybe the next 19. How does that change this rhythm for these guys? Obviously they've got finals somewhere in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
How does that just kind of mix things up when you go from playing games all the time to playing games, pretty rarely?
Well, it's about figuring out how we can maximize ourselves as a team. It wasn't a surprise, based on the schedule coach was able to identify, how he wanted the season to go as far as when we practice, how we practice, what we're doing in practice. And each individual day has its own set of goals as well, just like we talked about having goals for every possession. Every day that we have as we go along this journey of this season has a purpose. So it's really about continuing the skill development each and every day. It's about adding to our portfolio of what we can do offensively and defensively. It's about allowing guys to feel more comfortable in the multitude of roles that they have and making sure that the players can be as versatile as possible, moving forward. So it's actually it's a different set of circumstances with the space between the games, but it actually gives you an opportunity to take your time and really go back and make sure that attention to detail, the things that we have in, the guys really feel comfortable with what they're doing as we get ready for this stretch, because this luxury of days between games is going to go away pretty quickly.
Does it give you guys as coaches, a chance to sort of sit back and evaluate? I'm sure you guys do that all the time to begin with, but is there more sort of time to sort of take it all in and get a kind of big picture idea where everybody is and where everybody needs to go?
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I mean, it's
sitting back is not an art.
yeah. I don't know. There hasn't been a day there.
I didn't mean.
I know what you're saying about relaxing.
Can you take more of a wide angle look at everything as opposed to this?
No, because nothing comes as a surprise. We take daily account. I don't know if it could be even hourly account of where we're at with each individual player, on a day-to-day basis. So it gives you more, maybe an opportunity to make sure that you are helping out that individual player who may need a little bit more attention in a specific area, or fine-tuning some things. Maybe you have more time to do that, per se, between preparing for the next opponent. But we kind of know, you kind of have a good grasp of where we want each individual to be, and we're attacking that, full steam.
I know that they can't play in games, but how are Peter and Hunter coming along in practice, and are you happy with the progress they're making?
Those guys have been locked in and focused from day one, and they continue to be that way each and every day. I mean, they're as engaged and into it as they've ever been.
Speak What we've seen from Wilshere, especially the past 2 games, he's just been incredibly effective from the floor, defense, you name it, he's had him.
Yeah, well, Will is, you know, I think that we've expected, what we've seen from Will is kind of what we expected, and we even expect even more from him going forward. You know, it's just a matter of what you guys have had a chance to see is what Will does on a daily basis in practice. So it's been essentially him bringing his daily performance in practice, you know, onto the floor. He works at his game endlessly. He's one of those guys that coach refers to when he makes the comment that we have 365-day-a-year players. You know, he doesn't rest. He hit after the North Carolina game, he hit the reset button. He was there the next morning at 7 a.m. getting the shots in. So he has a level of expectation for himself, and as coaches, we continue to raise our level of expectation for him.
Looked like Christian was kind of struggling on the offensive end the other night. What do you think the problem was kind of for him? What has it been? How has he looked, I guess, the past couple of days?
Oh, he's fine. He's the veteran. You know, that's what I refer to him. I call him a vet. You know, he got right back at it as well. You know, he was able to hit the reset button. He wasn't, you know, I wouldn't say that he was disappointed in his personal performance, because he's a team guy first and foremost. But you know, I think that when sometimes you get caught up in a game when you have a lot of talented players on a team, you know, it's very easy for people to point to the tangible stats and say, okay, well, he didn't produce statistically like he typically does, so automatically we turn and say he didn't have a good game. Whereas, you know, the benefit of having a team with depth and talent is that everyone's going to have a different role at different times. You know, that is our goal when we're playing. You know, as coaches, you always want the perfect game. You want the perfect game defensively, and you want the perfect game offensively. But the perfect game offensively is having every single player that touches the floor performing at a peak level. And, you know, he had some opportunities. We reviewed some of those opportunities that he had. He's looked at it on film. He understands where his opportunities are, and he's really just excited about the next opportunity. You know, his last game, next game.
Anything else for Kenny?
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
No problem.